therefore, what we try to do is at each membership meeting, we have a special presentation. We invite guests in to talk about issues that are in our community, things that are going on. And this evening, we have the privilege of welcoming Angela Hosh to be with us. She is the new Chief Academic Officer for Jefferson County Public Schools. And as all of you know, the NAACP has been a vocal advocate for education for years, and we signed on to the Choice One plan. We signed on with the understanding or the expectation that there would be real improvement in terms of academic achievement and real progress in terms of closing the achievement gap. To many in this room, she is no stranger, longtime principal of East Portland Elementary School, and that had been involved. And so when they figure out how all this machinery works, now we'll let her, you can do it, Angela, you can.
Introductions. As he said, my name is Angela Hosh. I have been an educator for 34 years. And I started in Jefferson County. I was a teacher at Oklahoma Elementary for 11 years. Then I served the district for a few years as a resource teacher. I did my principal internship at Foster Traditional with Dr. Doris Miller. And then I became a principal myself at Portland in 2005. And I was there until 2019, and I'm proud to say we were at the time scoring the top third of the state in reading and mathematics. I had virtually no achievement gaps. And we were even featured in the Pritchard Report at that time as students had a better chance of not falling to the achievement gap by staying at Portland than to attend Dunn Elementary. So I take that very seriously and very much to heart, and it's what I then led the district as a principal supervisor in the office for school improvement. It was called AIS, Accelerated Improvement Schools. And I led under the direction of Dr. Nate Meyer. Many of my schools were here in the West End as well as the South End. And over the course of 4 years, I was able to exit 16 schools out of status. I'm very proud of that. One of my proudest achievements is what I'm going to tell you is, in the South End, I was able to exit almost every single school. And the number one issue was the achievement gap. I had to address and confront a lot of realities there because it was a constant communication from the leaders and the teachers of the students we get from the West End. And that was not acceptable to me. So once we were able to build that family and school connection and also help teachers either get on board that all kids can learn or get off the ship, we were then able to exit schools like Dixie Elementary, like schools like Greenwood Elementary, Sanders Elementary, and it was all around that narrative. I was honored this past fall to be called to serve as the district was without a chief academic officer. I'm even more honored now that they asked me to stay a little longer. And I want to share with you the passion that's led by Dr. Yearwood, which is very much aligned with the passion that I want to talk to you about tonight as we do a restructuring of the district. One of the number one barriers that we've had in the district across the time, probably the last 15 years, was a strong division between academics and schools division. We had this pillar of academic leaders, academic experts, and we had schools led by a whole separate set of supervisors, and what became of that is just two strong silos. And I used to joke at the communication because the workers over in academics would have to talk all the way to their top people, then their top people would have to come over and talk to the schools people, and then the communication would finally get down to us. And it was such a disservice. It was also what caused a lot of our inequities, because it's like the telephone game. If I start by telling this beautiful lady the date I went on last night and she repeats it on down the road, my date is going to change very differently by the time it gets to the other side. Same thing with the recipe. We could start with your grandma's recipe, but by the time everybody repeats it, the ingredients and the steps have all changed. That's exactly what's been happening in our school district. We've had lots of the telephone game going on. What can happen with that? A lot of ignoring. I'm going to take the pieces I want to do. I'm going to take the pieces I believe, even if they're not grounded in any type of evidence, and that's what I'm going to do with kids. And look where we are. How do we strengthen our systems, and how do we not only advance, but we must accelerate the learning of our children. One of the core responsibilities I'm going to bring to this work is being proactive and not reactive. Let me talk to you a little bit about what that has looked like. We talk a lot about the students that are misbehaving and suspended from school. We talk a lot about the kiddos that wind up in 12th grade and don't graduate and are on a path for a lack of an economic chance to develop because of us. We also have situations where we have kids who are not at school. What happens is we all start creating plans around that. Well, if Joe isn't behaving at school and he gets suspended, well, that's the reason he's not learning. Well, if Clara doesn't come to school every day and she always pretends she's sick, well, that's why she's not learning. If another child just keeps falling asleep in school and doesn't attend to the lesson, well, that's why he can't pass the test. All of those notions are reactive. We're trying to figure out the blame. It's time for us as a district to be proactive. We know when kids are falling asleep in class that we've got to dig deeper into the cause. We know when a kid is misbehaving, we have to dig deeper into the cause before we suspend. We know when a child isn't learning, we can't just say, well, the teacher taught it. So we've got to make a shift. And by becoming proactive, we want our teachers to be better developed, and we want our principals to be better developed. One of the things that's been lacking is many of our principals knowing what good instruction is. So just imagine hiring the world's worst coach to coach the best U of L basketball team and expect good outcomes. We've got to have great leaders that know instruction in schools to teach teachers and support them to teach students. And how to figure out how to help a child before we just say we taught it. We've spent a lot of time the past few years being reactive. We brought in an HQIR. You might have even heard that. I've heard it so much I just want to scream. What it means is we brought in a reading program and we brought in a math program. What we've forgotten is teachers still have to be good teachers. We've put these materials in people's hands. We told them that if they'll study it before class the next day and they follow what it says in the manual, that kids will learn. Well, here we are 2 years later. We didn't have an implementation yet. Our scores are just where they were 4 years ago. Am I not getting around with this? Oh, the fan, yes, the fan. This leads me to my next spot is our district has been audited several times over the past 10 years. And as much as we talk about schools that aren't improving, the message that doesn't get to the community is that as a district we have not been improving. So the next thing that's going to be core to my responsibility to you all is to ensure we meet our district improvement priorities. This is the narrative that doesn't get out there. We have had these priorities now for 2 years. And I'll say when I came in to talk to Dr. Yearwood, he wasn't even aware. It's kind of just been pushed down, pushed aside, ignored. But these are the two key things the state has been telling us that we must do. And if you look at the first one, it talks about, do we monitor and adjust instruction? Do we make our instruction meet what that child needs to move? We're even being told by the state that we must do it because we're not. Second thing, having a monitoring process for all of these different initiatives. We spent almost $90 million, $90,000 on these new curricula. And as I said, here we are 3 years later and our scores are just where they were 4 years ago. Are we ensuring that what we're putting in teachers' hands to use and we're training principals to support teachers use, are we even sure that's what's going to do our kids? Because the bottom line is the equity issue is our kids have to be able to read and write. They have to be able to speak and listen. And they have to also apply that to mathematics. We hear a lot about can kids read. We hear a lot about can they do math. We have to give them the whole experience. They have to be able to listen. They have to be able to speak. They have to be able to read. They have to be able to write. And they have to be able to also do all of those things with mathematics. So that's a lot of what I'm going to ensure we focus on. Being proactive and meeting these two specific state-identified priorities that I'm sure if I would have asked many, many former educators, this is exactly what we should be doing. I gotta walk around. I promise I will not launch into a lip sync or anything. I don't do karaoke well. I'm going to let you all self-pass out a paper. I'm going to take half of it. There's 3 components that I really want to focus on to meet being proactive and ensure we're implementing those district improvement priorities. The first thing is looking at the strong curriculum at every grade level. There is nothing that we can tell teachers, if you take this home and study it and then do it with kids tomorrow, that we can ensure success. Teachers have to know more than that. Teachers have to be able to take those materials, decide where the students are and are ready to access that, and then do the lesson. If I don't know that one student needs more background knowledge, if another student needs help with vocabulary, another student might need assistance just following the text. If I don't make those changes, we aren't going to get kids to grade level. I met with assistant superintendents last Monday, and we had a real frank conversation around a basic skill in reading, identifying the main idea. When we looked at what is expected of a 6th grader compared to what is expected of an 8th grader, and because we've been ignoring standards, it was very eye-opening to them that as a 6th grader, when I read text, when I read a book on a 6th grade level, the way the book is written, the text level, asks me to identify a main idea and give explicit evidence. If a teacher doesn't understand what explicit means, like some of our leaders didn't know, then they're not going to teach that right. Explicit evidence means it's right there in the story. Compared to the student who in 8th grade is going to read a text, know the main idea because of implicit evidence. Big difference there. But our focus has been, can the kids read the words at the level they're supposed to? They might be able to read it, but if we're not teaching them how to understand how that level of text has been written, we're not growing readers. We're not growing thinkers. We're not growing kids that are going to be able to be economically advantaged in our community. And I'm sure you feel it too, but we all want students growing up to be able to take care of us at the hospitals, take care of us at the banks, take care of us when we go to different places and organizations. If we need a lawyer, we don't want a lawyer that can't figure out the main idea of a text. So it's our responsibility to make that real. Same thing, vibrant learning experiences. That's the biggest thing missing right now. I want to talk to you a little bit of educationese, and I think I've been doing that a lot. But when we have so many children that are struggling and behind 2 grade levels, we can't continue to give them experiences where they're in a discovery mode, where we're asking them to explore and figure stuff out. We have to move them quickly. We've got kiddos, we've got to move 2 years to get to grade level. I'm going to give you an example. The number of 9th graders right now going into reading in high school, 40% are novice. That's the lowest level. That's where this year's data is trending. It's not going to help them if I just keep giving them something to explore with. I'm going to go back to the recipe. If someone doesn't know how to whisk eggs and they skip that part in the recipe, do they really get it? It's not going to turn out. If we keep doing this discovery type learning with our students that are so far behind, they're never going to catch up. That is something I'm going to be committed to. We have to get back to the place where teachers understand how to teach. Teachers understand for each student what that student needs, and we can teach in an efficient method. Is that making any sense? Any thoughts occurring to you? Ask me some questions. How am I going to get that done? That's a great question. It is a great question. She said, how are we going to get that done? We've got to make some big shifts. We've put this curriculum in teachers' hands. Number one, the issue is with both our reading and math, the curriculum that we've chosen takes too many days. We don't even have enough days in the year. Second issue, we haven't addressed school schedules. That's something we're actually addressing this week at principal meetings. We have some schools, for example, I'm going to talk middle and high, we have schools that are teaching on what they call a block schedule. That means one day you might go to reading, no math. The next day you might go to math, no reading. It's like that all year long. We've calculated minutes that kids are missing. If they're on a block schedule, they're missing hundreds of minutes a day in literacy. It equates to almost 21 days of the school year. So schedule's a huge issue. We're going to align schedules. We're going to make sure that schools are giving kids the time, the maximum time that we can give to get them their literacy and math. We're going to go through this year with EL and my perspectives, but we're going to look at one thing by December. If we don't have it moving in the direction it needs to be moving, is it a shift we need to make, or do we need to de-implement it? Do we need something better for our kids? That's a good question. The reason we're trying it that way is it's been implemented differently in every school. You've got one school that's doing reading for 60 minutes. You go to the next elementary school and they do 90 minutes. You go to another one and they don't use it at all. So it's very hard for me to come in and say this is or isn't working. So we're going to level set. We're going to level set on that's our resource, but what is an instructional experience? Common language is what's missing. When we talk about an instructional experience from school A to school B to school C, any child should be able to receive the same. It shouldn't be better at school A and not good at school B and worse at school C. I call it the franchise model. If I'm offering it at school A and we're making success, school B kids deserve that success too. School C school kids deserve that success. So what is it we need to make sure is happening in every classroom every day? And the first thing I'm going to tell you is time. If we're not dedicating the correct amount of time to reading and math, we're the problem. We can't blame the material. We can't even blame the teacher at that point. We set up the schedule, so it's our problem. Second thing we have to do, we've got to get away from this message of teachers, please go study this tonight and present it tomorrow and all kids will learn. If that were the case, we'd set up AI in every classroom, wouldn't we? We can't do that. That's a disservice, and we are creating the barrier again. Teachers have to, and we have to go back to teachers knowing what good pedagogy is. And it's got to be good pedagogy in every single classroom. Kids should know, and families should know, no matter what school they send their child to, they're going to get the best experience. And I think that's what we owe everyone, is that can happen. I can tell you from being at Portland those years, it's hard work. One of the things that's been a fallacy is that if we lower class size, it will get better. Now I'm going to tell you I believe that. But what they failed to tell people is if you lower the class size, that means the teacher works harder and the kids.
It's not done for adult convenience. It should be because you have fewer kids, so you have greater opportunity to figure out what they need and how to get it to them. So that's the other thing we're going to look at is how are we structuring our classrooms? How are we maximizing teacher time to be with students for student time? So let me go back. We've got to look at the schedule. We've got to look at the material, make sure everybody really understands how to do it with good teaching, not just presenting. The third thing is we've got to make sure teachers are working just as hard as the kids. Not that they're not, but are they working on the right things? Are they working on the pedagogy and the practice each child needs versus just showing that lesson that they've been given to in EL and perspectives? The other thing we're going to work on is strengthening our systems. So one of the things is we have lots of data. We have all kinds of data, but the fallacy is that we just believe naturally people know how to understand it. One of the biggest things that we've been talking about is our data from what we use MAP this year. Next year we're switching to iReady, and I'll tell you why. But when we look at MAP and we're looking at winter data, one of the things that teachers aren't being asked to do anymore is to go into that data kid by kid and not just say that they're an RTI kid or need ECE, but they're really going in there to see what they need. MAP gives us a continuum and it shows us asset-based. And asset-based means what is this kid ready for? So if we look at it as a deficit all the time, as what does this kid not know? That's the first problem. We have to look at it as an asset base so that we can solve that problem. We have to look at the child is bringing the best they can. So what are they ready for? And we've got to move that forward. I'm just waiting to trip myself. So a lot of that is around data. We have been telling our teachers, if you just teach grade level, everyone will follow. Well, that's not possible when you're 2 grade levels behind, and our 9th grade reading scores show that's not working. So we can't just look at what are we teaching that day. We've got to get a stronger, what we call, support system. And in that support system, that's the biggest thing that's pointing out right now, is kids need explicit instruction. When I talked a little bit ago about discovery learning, all of our curriculum right now is set up on that. What that means is at the beginning of math, you're given a problem and you're asked to think it through. What would you do? How would you solve it? If you're 2 levels behind in math, you don't have any idea. So we waste about 15 minutes of a math lesson with kids grappling with something they can't even access because they're so far behind. So that's not going to work anymore. We're going to have to take what we have, the IM, and figure out how to do it with explicit instruction. That doesn't mean we're just going to give them an equation to figure it out, or the long division practice. No, we want them to understand what they're doing, but we don't want them to sit there and try to discover something they don't even understand how to start with. What's big? You're going to love me or hate me. They need to learn their facts. They need to learn addition facts and subtraction facts and multiplication facts, and they need to know how to divide quickly. They need to understand it, but they need to be able to do it quickly. Same thing with their reading. We can't just teach them the phonics and the way to sound out and create words, and you're going to hear that a lot. That has been missing for a while. But just because you can sound out words and put words together doesn't mean you're reading. So how are we going to change that? We've got to look at our curriculum. We're going to have a much deeper system with our regional assistant superintendents. That group of regional assistant superintendents, I'm going to use elementary as an example, is going to have a team of coaches that they can send to schools to help and support grade level teams, teacher teams, or the whole school if we're struggling with the concept. That's important because for the past few years, they've just been asked to do the curriculum. They haven't received a lot of the support they need to actually teach and know teaching skills. That's where what we've got to bring back. So advancing learning, we have to be proactive. We have to be proactive. We have to have systems. Something I hear a lot is, oh, that's an ECE kid. We're gonna have to figure out what to do with ECE. ECE has been around for 30-some years. Why are we still waiting to figure out what to do? The fact is we do know what to do, but we don't train teachers to know what to do. We don't train them until they experience the child and need to know. That doesn't make any sense. That goes back to being proactive. A lot of the best skills we say to use with ECE children are the skills we should be using with all kids. Do they understand the vocabulary? Do they have background knowledge? Background knowledge is one of the biggest barriers for many of our kids. If they haven't had a lot of world experiences, I know they don't like to read much anymore. Maybe they see great things on their phones, I don't know. But it's not helping them learn about paleontology, and it's not helping them understand the process of how plants grow and change and reproduce. So we have to provide those experiences. We have to be explicit. We have to make sure we're using good teaching and not just following what's in a book. These are the 4 things that we'll be looking at. Do we have common understanding of what good teaching is? That's what I want principals to learn. Principals must know what good teaching looks like. If they don't, they can't support their teachers. Do we have a proactive plan for our students? This means before the lesson, the teacher has to think through, what do my students know? What do I know they don't know? Do they need to know about something before we even interact with the text? Do they need a video to show the giraffe running? So that they truly, and we can all level set what that is. But we have to do that adjustment before. What are the kids' assets? What are the kids ready to learn? And how do we go from there? Not, they don't know this. That's why I keep saying asset-based. We have to have an efficient instructional delivery system. Right now, the wave in education is kids must explore to learn. But I'm going to go back to this. If you've been exploring something for 2 years and you haven't figured it out, do you think more exploring is going to get you there? It's sort of like when we're teaching kids to shoot basketballs. It's those minor adjustments that help them learn to do it. We don't just let them stand there and do it over and over and over and do bad habits. So we have to make sure our instruction is efficient. And finally, you're going to hear a lot about assessment. We're shifting to a new assessment tool. It's called iReady. iReady is going to help us because iReady actually focuses on the standards and skills students are supposed to learn. The MAP assessment that you've heard for a long time, it's sort of worn out. It's not directly aligned with standards anymore, and what we hit this year was a huge level set problem. MAP tests adjust to how people are performing across the nation. So if that bar gets lowered, guess what gets lowered for our kids? They've lowered the bar. It looked like more kids were performing, but that's because they lowered the proficiency level. That's not going to help us move kids. So let me just go take you back to Portland. This is what I believe works for kids. There has to be high expectation of training and learning of teachers. If teachers aren't expected to be highly trained and forever learning, we won't stay ahead of the game. Second thing is high expectations for kids. We had a meeting today and we talked about where the crossover was between behavior, attendance, and learning. Let me tell you what I've seen over and over. This was mainly when I came to Portland and then across the different low-performing schools that I was at. We could get behavior under control, and then we were happy. Teachers noticed, though, if they raised the level of what they wanted students to do. For example, I want you to write more than one sentence. What did kids resort to? Behavior. So many schools and teachers would become complacent because they don't want to rock the boat. You have to rock the boat. If you're not struggling, you're not learning. If you're not working hard to figure something out with support, you're not going to learn it. If it's something you already know, you're not learning. And we can't be afraid to support children through that with education. We've lowered the bar on education so that we can raise the bar on behavior. That has to get flipped, and that's going to be a lot of tough conversations with schools. If a child's misbehaving because the work's hard, you have to figure out a better way to meet it. If a child's misbehaving, they don't get to choose to opt out. It's up to us to figure that out. They don't get to choose for us to send them home. I didn't suspend at Portland. I didn't suspend. The reason I didn't suspend is because if that child didn't learn, it was on us. I took away their learning time. Now, I'm not going to say there's never a reason not to suspend, but we've got to switch. We've got to pull that together with the behavior, the academics, and the attendance, and we have to make it our priority that kids are at school. When the work gets hard, we work them through it, and we keep that bar high for them. Thank you for having me.
Questions in here.
I'm
And
sure.
so we're gonna take a few questions.
Absolutely.
Who wants to be first?
So you said you talked about you don't have any good meeting tomorrow. You said you have a meeting tomorrow.
We do, yes. She's asking if we have a meeting tomorrow with principals. So the meeting on Wednesday is with middle school and high school. Thursday will be with elementary. A big block of that time is around master scheduling. It's the start of the work, and it will be worked on until June, till we have completed schedules for every single school that maximize learning, because that's the first thing that has to happen. It has to maximize the learning in the classroom, and it has to make available time for teacher learning and collaboration, and it has to make time, extra time for students that are behind. So that'll be our first job.
Us is that there's going to be a paradigm shift, okay, regarding teaching and what the district is doing to ensure that learning is happening. How is that going to impact? I can speak loud. because I was in middle school.
You do it.
How is that going to impact JCTA? How is it going to impact site-based capsules? And you talked about block scheduling, which was, in my day, a best practice. I never knew of elementary kids doing block scheduling. But how are y'all going to incorporate this, getting principals on board? Which way I can see y'all do that? You say, you're fired. And that's what Donald Trump does, okay? So how you are going to get them to buy in to this traditional, and that's what it sounds like, you're going more back to a traditional mode of teaching.
Let me talk first about principal responsibility. The thing that I want shifted, and you'll see it on your paper there, there's a dot, there's an arrow, it's going both directions. Something that's been missing has been shared accountability. As a principal supervisor working with a principal, I am just as responsible as that principal is. What I used to tell my teachers, if you're not being successful, the first person I look at is me. If you're feeling stress and not pressure, you're always going to feel pressure. But if you're feeling stress, I look at me. We've got to shift that paradigm with upper management. Upper management has to realize you walk in shared accountability. And that's been missing. I'm going to be honest with you. It's been missing. But also walk in the shoes with them of making the job pressure, always pressure, but not stress. We're not going to fully go back to traditional model because we're trying to pull in a lot of the new research. Research shows, and we've known it for the past 15 years, we haven't been teaching phonics well. But I also want to own that we also know kids have to be reading books, and K2 kids can't just live in phonics. When we talk about scheduling, block scheduling can work, but it can't work if every day kids are spending 45 to 50 minutes in an advisory class. My question to principals is going to be, what is advisory? What is it? What are they doing for 50 minutes? Is it just a time to do your homework? What's the goal of it and what are the minutes? That's one of the issues with the block scheduling. If they're losing minutes and then they're spending another 50 minutes a day in a class, scheduled class, that we don't know what is the outcome, why are we doing it? We've got to make those shifts. Those are the shifts. So if we're going to do block scheduling, and I'm not going to say it doesn't work, it can work very well, but you need to maximize the minutes, and that's what's going to be reviewed up till the beginning of June. How are you maximizing the minutes in your schedule? Did I answer everything?
No, JCTA.
JCTA, well, that's a big one. I never had a JCTA issue at Portland, and let me tell you why. I know, it's a big one. Teachers have to know you walk in shared accountability. If they believe you, the principal, are just telling them what to do, telling them how to do it, and then telling them why they did it wrong, they don't want to work for you. But if they know you as the principal are there with them, and just as I said, if it's not going well, I look at me first. The second thing is building in time, and that's another reason we're going to look at the schedule. There are some schools that have 2 planning periods a day for teachers. So across the week, that is 10 periods of planning. They're only meeting one of them. They're only at one time meeting one of those with their collaborative partners, with ECE teachers, with multilingual learner teachers, with behavior coaches, all of that. So we have to teach principals what the contract is and how to use it. Because if I'm giving you 10 planning periods a week, I only owe you 5. So what am I doing with the other 5? So we got to look at that. That's nothing against JTA. You can't be mad at them. They do a good job for what they set out to do, right? You can't be mad at them. We have to figure out how to work with the contract. That's the other thing with master scheduling. Did you intentionally build in the time? The second thing that happens is once teachers know you're with them, they'll work. They want that success for kids and themselves just as much as we do. But they have to know they're supported, and they have to have principals that are instructional leaders. The schools that have principals that can come in the classroom and actually help the teacher do better, those teachers don't leave.
Okay, we got time for one more question.
I have to honor you, Ms. Marshall. Ms. Marshall was with me when I was a baby teacher for K-TIP. I sat in that lesson and heard all about what I was going to do for K-TIP. Then she brought me back and trained me to be a K-TIP teacher. And then she helped me become a K-PIP.
Yeah, my question is, all these things you're saying are great. And you're saying we're looking at it and we're exploring who is the we. And if you're using the same people who have not moved the needle in 4 years, what are we doing?
Yeah, who is it Einstein says when you keep doing the same thing, that's just ignorance? I can't guarantee the same people are going to be in the same positions. We're in the middle of interviewing now. I'm looking for people right now, assistant superintendent level, that know instruction and they know how to build people. They know how to walk side by side in accountability and not just stand and point the finger. They also have to be courageous leaders. In case we have a leader we really have to grow, we have to be willing to do that. And 9 times out of 10, I haven't met a person that doesn't really want to grow if you can help grow them. So that's a thing. When I talk about we, right now it is the original cabinet, and we're having courageous conversations. It's also pointing out what people know and what they don't know. And I need to know that. The other thing is I'm not the expert on everything, and you can't be on my team if you're not a lifelong learner. Because I need people around me that will challenge me and help me grow just as much as I'm going to challenge and help them grow. So right now it is our regular level team, but I'm also trying to work with a lot of outside groups. I would love to work and hear from you more often. If we don't start engaging the community, we're never going to get this city where it needs to be. we're never going to get our students and children to the level that they can actually be at. We're never going to see those outcomes that we keep saying we want to see. And I'm going to promise you, I have a vision. I did it at Portland. I confronted those barriers. I did it at several AIS schools. Because we have to have courageous conversations. And I believe, because I've seen it, we can do this. But it's not going to just be me talking to the we at the big house. It's coming here. It's talking to U of L. It's talking to them at Simmons. It's talking to them at Bellarmine. How are we training our teachers? It's talking to community about what are you seeing that I'm missing? And if we don't engage community, that was what helped me at Portland. Every one of those kids at schools that we got exited, it was about bringing in the community. Because when parents know the why, for example, I'm going to use the principal at Young Elementary right now. She is at the door when a kid comes in late, and she shows the parent the schedule. Your child missed math again today. It's changing. The narrative's starting to change at her school. Because parents are starting to see what are they missing. And they don't like seeing the principal's face when they come in to sign it. But it's about engaging the community. Every parent that came to my school didn't come to my school as a deficit. They came as an asset that I had to figure out what they were bringing. It could have been they were helping us mulch the yard. It could have been they were helping us clean the cafeteria. We had tons of gardens. I had families build those garden beds. I had families out there with kids trying to decide what was ready to harvest. And they came in the evenings and we cooked together. That's what school needs to look like. And if it's not a partnership, and this is a big city, we've got a lot of people to rally. But we've got to do that because our kids will lose if we don't.
Here's a question.
Yes,
She wanted
ma'am.
to clear up. She doesn't want to ask it. She wanted to know what ECE was, and she feels like the
No, great
room needs
question.
to understand what that is.
It is a fancy, exceptional child education. It was a fancy way of what we used to say special ed. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're out of time, folks.
I'm happy to come back.
You have a standing invitation to come back and visit us, talk about it, update us on that, and we will certainly make certain that regular scheduled meeting, and we will follow up. But again, thank you for coming, and thank you for your presentation. We have okay. Next on the agenda is new members. Are there any new members here tonight? New members. You stand and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Debbie. I'm not going to take a lot of time, but I'm here because of my good friend Pearl, who is a person of color, who I've become very close to in the last 10 years. And she's taught me a lot that I have not heard about what people of color deal with. And I have several family members who fall into that category. Yesterday I went to an event where there were no people of color in there. And it was a huge event. A lot of money was spent, including my daughter, my niece, and her family. And I didn't understand why would that be? Anyway, so I told my friend Pearl, I'm going to write to their board of directors. I also want to join the NAACP and get advice from you all, because you all are the ones who showed us the way a long, long time ago.
We're on that battlefield, and it gets to be a tough battle every day.
Mark Lyons. Mark Lyons.
Okay, Mark. I said, I need to make certain, is there anybody here tonight that want to join the NAACP? I'll preach and pass the plate, do all of it. But anyway, thank you all for coming in. Welcome to the new members tonight. We are an active organization, and as you will gather as we go through the rest of the agenda,
I'm a new member
You're old.
I'm old number, but I'm old new number.
Okay. But no, Curtis is the chair of our housing committee. So, we welcome him back. He was here a few months ago, did a presentation on the down payment assistance program, with the city of Louisville, through the work that he and others did. The mayor got some religion and restored some of the funding back to the program, not all of the required funding. So we know while they're doing the budget process now, we want to be on the battlefield to make certain that they fund it adequately to address the needs of the community. So thank you for your work, Curtis. Next item is the approval of the minutes. Those were in fact sent out with the meeting notice. Is there a motion regarding the minutes?
I have a question. They said the meeting adjourned at 7:20, but we started the meeting at 7 o'clock. I know we didn't have a 20-minute meeting.
I agree with you. There are several corrections in the minutes that need to be made. For instance, in the second paragraph, House bills aren't generated in the Senate. Bills are generated in the Senate and the House. There are a number. There's a reference to KDC. I think they're talking about KDE. And then we want to talk about misconduct, and it's got misconduct. And so, can we have a motion to approve the minutes with the corrections?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the minutes be approved with those corrections. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sharon Marble.
Sharon Moore.
Thank you.
And I'll give you my marker copies.
Thank you.
So at that, we now move to the reports, and the next report is from the treasurer.
Hello everybody, I won't be long. Treasury report for March 16th, 2026. The balances in our account, I go over that first, is our operating account has a balance of $68,526.42. Our special account has a balance of $42,776.11. And our scholarship fund is down at $21,223.41. On March the 1st, we submitted our AFR report, which is our annual financial report to national. That's like doing taxes. And we submitted ours on time. So we did a response from them as some clarification on a lot of items, and we will be submitting that within 10 days. We received over $10,000 in scholarships in March. Just want to make note of that. On March the 2nd, we received $7,150. Our online PayPal account received $3,500 on the 5th. And I thought that was quite notable, and because we sent an appeal, and everyone responded. Another thing I want to mention is that on the 17th of February, we received $25,000 from National for grant. It's an empowerment grant for our build program that we made application for. We have several members of the build program ready to receive. I don't know if they go to a presentation or not, but we have received those monies, and as soon as the program gets operational, we would be making expenditures. That's a collaboration with the University of Louisville, and it's a is built around environmental outreach, environmental justice outreach. That's all the notable things I need to mention. Any questions? Hearing none.
Do we have a motion to receive the treasurer's report?
Sharon Marbury.
Second.
Very good. Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Treasurer report is received. Next item on the agenda, our secretary is absent this evening, and our assistant secretary is sitting in. And the two items down there she does not have, so we'll get those at the next general membership. We now move to the president's report. I provided on the back table a update, what we call the social justice watch list. It gives us the status of legislation that's pending in Frankfurt. I won't go through all of it, except to probably point to a couple of things in terms of that. And two of them, with our JCPS leadership attendance tonight, there are two bills listed in there that relate to the governance of Jefferson County Public School. And then there's a bill that relates to doing away with school-based decision-making council. We need to be aware. The bills that want to call to your attention is Senate Bill 1, and it has passed the Senate, it's now pending in the House. And what it does do is, it is an attempt. As you know, the Supreme Court overturned the restructuring of JCPS that was done in legislation, found that it was unconstitutional. So Senate Bill 1 goes through a series of findings, and then you travel back to the back door to do what it wasn't able to do before. And again, that's it. It basically takes the power, gives to the superintendent authority over JCPS, limiting the role of the board, and the board can only override the superintendent with a 2/3 vote. So it is empowering the superintendent. And to his credit, Dr. Yearwood, when he testified, said, "I don't need that." So I don't know how it was received by some folks. But you know, that bill is pending. The other bill is a bill, Senate Bill 114, which is really aimed at Jefferson County and Fayette County public schools in terms of changing the structure, in terms of where it is giving to the mayor of those cities the ability to appoint board members. We've just gone through a process where we have done away with partisan elections for metro council members and for the mayor. And that bill comes back in terms of the composition of school board, increasing the composition to 11 members, and 4 members of it will be appointed at large by the mayor, and with equal representation of political parties. So we've been away from partisan in one place and bring partisan back into JCPS. The other thing I want you to be aware of is a major issue. As you will know, there are impeachment petitions now pending in the Kentucky House. One is to remove Supreme Court Justice Pamela Goodwine. The other one that there was held a hearing today, that is the removal of the Fayette County Commonwealth Attorney, another African American female. And to his credit, and we're going to give him credit for it, Mr. Go after, is one Jason Lemus out of Jefferson County, which is a big driver behind a lot of this. And so folks, we got to be aware of that, and that means that, you know, elections are coming up, primary in May, general election in November, is that we got to educate our folks about what it means to vote, and how to vote, and what they ought to be doing to be able to vote. So we just be very much aware of that in terms of where we are. Yes, ma'am.
All those schoolhouse bills that you said are pending,
Yes.
and we make calls to those senators.
Okay, if you look at the very last page of that social justice watch list update, it says if you want to do that, it tells you how to contact your state legislator and how to do that. So, you know, you can call them, you can email them, whatever, the phone numbers are there, you can leave a message and terms of where you want them to go and how you want them to go. The other thing is, and I don't think I pulled a copy of the, yeah, I did, right? We passed this out at the last meeting. JCPS's legislative priorities too. So what we want to do is be supportive of those. The budget bill, which is House Bill 500, has passed the House, now pending in the Senate. Depending on who you talk to, you get a different view that this is a very good bill. You know, unless they fund 100% transportation, unless they fund 100% textbooks, you know, in my mind, they don't stop. It's sort of ridiculous to say you really do it. But what they do take credit for is we created this big slush fund over here that we putting away millions of dollars every year while kids in our state don't get the necessary support, whether it's health, whether it's education, or any of those things that are necessary for it. So we got to begin to be more proactive, more vocal in terms of where we are. And that's the correct. Yes, ma'am.
Do we oppose those bills or are we in favor?
We are opposed to the bill. You got to read the The NAACP position is stated in there. There may be some more copies. I made about 30 files. But go through that and read that in terms of knowing what's going on and being aware of it, because we got to. This list resulted as a result of St. Stephen's Sunday School classes has a social justice leader in every Sunday school class. That social justice leader job is to keep the Sunday school class members informed in terms of where it is. And this will be maybe the third update I've done for them in terms of where it is. So we need to make sure we're taking care of that. Are there any questions for the president that haven't already been asked? Hearing none, can I have a motion to receive the president's report? Second. Jim Campbell, second. Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. On the next on the agenda, in our workshops that we've done, led by our community coordination committee, a force to be reckoned with. One of the things they asked for was for us to have our committees do some brief reports in these meetings. And we talked about doing 3 of those. Each of the committee chairs have been advised in terms of the time limitation and the expectation of that. And so we're going to start with Anita Gasson, who's going to do environmental justice.
We're gonna move real fast here. I'm Arnita Gasson, and I'm the Kentucky and Louisville Chair of the Environmental Climate Justice Project for NAACP. I'm also the President and CEO of the West Jefferson County Community Task Force, which is a partner on the bill grant. I'm gonna start off, and I'm gonna try to introduce. Okay, so while she's getting that together, I'll just keep on rolling, because I know this meeting is timeless up here. So the first thing I want to talk to you a little bit about, we talked about the build grant. This is a $25,000 grant that is actually given to the units by the National NAACP. And the build grants are funding sources intended to meet the needs of the unit for health and well-being, inclusive economy, education, innovation, race and justice, and environmental and climate justice. So that is what the build grant is, and I want to just make sure everybody knew that. Now, the project in itself, what we're doing, is called NAACP Exposure for Education for Clinical Patients and Clinicians. We just kind of brought it together and called it Environmental Health Education and Patients, for patients and doctors. What this is, when you go to the doctor, and the doctor looks at you, he has not in his training anywhere does he get environmental health. He doesn't have it. So for those of us who have lived, in my case, 36 grand for most of my life before they built the thing over top of my house. When you go to the doctor, and I've lived, and you've lived near the, let's say, the rubber town all your life, they cannot relate or they can't put it all together when they're looking at you. In other words, if, no longer, as I tell my doctor, don't tell me my blood pressure is high because I'm black. You gotta tell me something else besides that because you got blood pressure and you ain't black. So tell me how that relates. An example, and I'm only gonna give one, is we have talked about mercury exacerbating Parkinson. If the doctor doesn't know that, if he's looking at you and has symptoms of Parkinson, then he won't say, let's take a test and see if there's mercury in it. What we're trying to do is build that platform for the doctors. We're trying to build something to give to you so you can take to the doctor and initiate the conversation. And with that, I'm going to bring some other folks up here so they can get it. So, let me talk about Park. We are looking at, this is me, that is Ann Hagen-Bridge. You all probably know her as the ex-CEO of Park Evolve. She is now a member and treasurer of the task force. One that's not here is Dr. Natasha D. Jarnett. You all have probably seen her on talk shows. Then we, Eviana Leggett, sitting over here beside me, and you can get up here to say who you are and where you're looking. And then, of course, one of my most important partners is Lauren Anderson, PhD at University of Louisville. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to, Lauren?
Lauren, and I am a researcher from the University of Louisville at the School of Medicine. And so I work for a research group, and we do research on the air pollution that we're all breathing and how that impacts our cardiovascular and metabolomic system. So that means everything from diabetes to obesity to heart disease to stroke is what we research. And so we are involved in this project because, just like Arnita said, medical professionals do not get any training in exposure and what that exposure means for health. And so we are developing communication that can help doctors understand that where someone lives drives their exposures. So for instance, if someone lives near Rubbertown, they could be at higher risk for liver cancer because there is vinyl chloride there. So if I go to my doctor's office and I say, hey doctor, do you know what vinyl chloride is? Most likely they're going to say no. If I ask, do you know what vinyl chloride does to me? They are also going to say no. That is a problem because if someone has lived there for 70 years and they show up at the doctor with some funny things going on, they need a liver cancer screening. And so, this is what, because Rubbertown produces 42% of all of Louisville's emissions, it is an environmental risk factor for the folks that live there. But it's not enough to just talk to the doctors and get them to understand what's going on because our healthcare system is patient-driven. So we have to advocate for ourselves. And so I've already said that part. And so we're making conversation guides that can be complementary to that physician training as well, so that you can know what sorts of questions to ask, what kinds of screenings that might be necessary, and how to begin those conversations with your doctor. And so that's what this last point here is, just talking about those different health tools that we plan to make. Next.
Okay. And expected outcomes really are basically medical staff. The medical staff incorporated the increased patient confidence and literacy in discussing environmental exposures and healthcare, to improve clinical awareness of local environmental health risks and their impact on diagnosis and treatment, and strengthen collaboration between the NAACP, the Environmental Institute, and the West Jefferson County Community Task Force, the medical community, and the affected residents to support ongoing environmental justice initiatives. How do we know we are successful here? The medical staff incorporates the information into the exams. Patient environmental health guides and companion community website access to at least 300 community members and reaching 50 healthcare professionals to help initiate conversation. And 3, final printed and digital guide distributed across community health centers and clinics and public events. So we want you to be just as aware. We want you to be able to go to the doctor and say, doctor, I lived in this plant for 30 years. And now I have this, my father had this, my son had this, my kids have that. Do you think it has anything to do with it? And we want something in your hand that at least you can go a little bit further into. Thank you. Now, who's next?
All right, and so I've talked a little bit already about how important it is to bridge environmental exposures and clinical care. And so that is just being aware of what your exposures might be through those tools like we've just mentioned, and how to bring those concerns to your doctor through patient-friendly tools. All right, let's keep going. We'll address local environmental health risks. So we have hotspots here around town, and those can be highlighted with maps and different things. And then once problems are noticed, we can do different types of research to help uncover what's driving those things.
Crooked. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We did our best.
When we,
Okay.
it was not crooked before, but when I separated and touched, I
Just
touched
keep going,
something
man.
and made it
And
crooked.
just so you know, I have given to the secretary, the assistant secretary, a copy of this presentation, so it'll go, when the minutes for the meeting go out, you'll get the presentation as well.
What's next? All right, and so one of the things that we like to talk about a lot at the university is the town and gown relationship. And that's really just a fancy way of saying that research can't happen without participation. So that's why we send folks like me out to talk to folks like you. Okay, Miss Ann, I'll drive for you now.
Some of the responses we got to a survey that's going to be on the screen later that we really need your help with. And when the question was, how much do you know about air pollution problems around us? And people said, I know a lot. Some said, I know some said, I'm not sure. Some said, I don't know much. Okay, so we know a lot about the air pollution problems. And the next one was, how much do you think your doctor knows about pollution in the air you breathe and how it may affect you? And people answered some, I'm not sure. You see a big bar, not much, and then a medium-sized bar, nothing. So the key issue is here that if we know about the air pollution that affects us, especially in the west end of Louisville, and your doctors don't know about it wherever your doctor is, then, you know, there's a disconnect about how well they can treat you. So we're trying to help fix that. And the next slide is the timeline with Evian.
I need to wrap it up.
For the Build Project, the Christina Lee Brown Environmental Institute. We do environmental research.
Microphone.
We do environmental research in the city of Louisville. Can you guys hear me better now?
Yes.
Perfect. So I'm going to discuss the timeline of this project and how we are going to create these resources and get them out to you. So for the next 2 months, within March and April, we are going to do a literature review, and we are going to analyze data that has been published across the country that will explain how these air pollutants affect your cardiovascular, endocrine, all the other health systems in your body, and we will compile this into a booklet that is accessible. So instead of using very technical terms like endocrine system, you can understand that, oh, this air pollutant is affecting my hormones, and that's causing these health issues in my life. We are going to compile that into a booklet for you guys, and we are also going to generate a website that people can go to so that they can gather this information and learn more about how their air is affecting their health. Between April and October, we will disseminate the booklet across the community. We will also attend community engagement events across the city so that we can let people know about this resource and potentially give them an opportunity to take advantage of this resource and use it in their medical lives and their daily lives. We will also host clinical events. So this will help to train clinicians on how to respond to this research, how to incorporate the environmental factors into their health plan for individuals living in this city. Next, we will complete our remaining events, and we'll continue attending community engagement events, continue distributing our booklet and sharing the word about this project. And we will also begin evaluation so that you guys can let us know how this has actually affected your conversations with your health providers and how we can improve this system in the future. Finally, in February of next year, we will finish evaluations and close the project and further give you guys the opportunity to learn more about your health and how the environment is affecting you. These are a few of the activities that we're going to take part in. So first, we're going to do 6 community engagement sessions. This looks like hosting events and attending events that are happening in the community, giving people the opportunity to provide feedback to us so that we can be the most informed on what's going on in this community. Further, we are going to continue releasing surveys like the pictures that you saw a little bit earlier in our presentation. That way we can increase, we can assess the knowledge and awareness of the health issues that are going on in this community. We are also going to publish a clinical conversation guide. So this will help you have conversations with your doctor and get the effects, and help you get the impacts and the effects that you hope to see from your conversations with your doctor. On the care provider side, we're going to host 3 workshops for medical professionals so that they are trained in how to listen to the information that you are sharing with them and how to incorporate that into your health plan.
Okay,
we're also
we need
going to provide service for them.
to wrap
And a health impact evaluation tool. Thank you.
Can we go to one more slide or scan this? We skip one slide, you'll get this all in your emails, I guess. But if you will take a picture of that right now or scan it, that will take you to the survey we need everybody to fill out. It's real easy, and we want you to share it with
For the
friends.
committee chairs,
Mhm.
we said that we were at work within those times.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Next is membership.
My name is Claudia Darren, and I'm the membership, life membership chair. And I was going to say a lot more, and I had my report done, and I sent it, the original report, I don't know where it is, I guess it's in cyberspace somewhere. But I'll just briefly just let you know what membership is all about, I'm sure. And we had a meeting on March the 3rd where we discussed the different ways to implement or to solicit memberships for the NAACP. And that there was also a workshop that took place on March the 5th. It was a national workshop dealing with Medgar Evers. It's called the Year of Medgar Evers, and we all know who he was, don't we? Who was, somebody tell me real quickly. He was a civil rights activist in Mississippi, and he was killed and assassinated in 1963, I believe, for his work. The National NAACP wants to honor him with this year called Medgar Evers Year, and it is a membership activity. Some of our members are here tonight. If you're a member of the membership committee, just raise your hand. And quite a few. And we are also working with Ian Brandon, hopefully we will again, in the Black Student Union at JCPS, where the high school, the JCPS high schools, where we can obtain memberships. And I'll just go ahead and be quiet. One other thing is that on Saturday, this coming Saturday, at 9 a.m., we'll be at the Percival Avenue Baptist Church for the men's practice. And so hopefully we'll get memberships in. Any questions? I did it very hurriedly.
It's the lifeblood of the NAACP.
Yeah, that's
We're an all-volunteer organization, and the only funds raises that we have is membership, and then we do an annual Freedom Fund bank. That's what funds the things that make this organization run and go. So thank you, Claudia, for that. Now we go to community coordination.
My name is Raleigh Richardson. I don't have a really cool PowerPoint presentation, but what's really cool is I know I'll get that information. I am the webmaster, so to speak. So that's kind of like I want to make sure we're clear on that. So as data comes in, the really cool thing about our group is community coordination. Again, I love that last presentation that we did. It was kind of like, Raleigh, your team only does this one thing. but that one thing is everything, right? So the organization, part of our group, needs something, we have an outstanding team. So if you're a part of my team, please raise your hand and show how awesome our team is. We've got Michelle, we got, there we go, look at them. Look at our group. We got Rose, we got Bonnie, we're here. We're doing stuff. So let me tell you what we're doing. So we kind of recapped last year. It was a year of rebuilding and momentum. So we kind of took a look at our website and we said, it probably could be done different. So we took some time. We got a lot of feedback. I was the project manager on that. I got a lot of feedback. And by the way, I continue to get feedback on that website. I respect that. It is a work in progress. So please, if you're seeing some things that you're like, I wish we had that on there, reach out to me so we can get that on there and make sure it aligns to our values, our vision, and our principles. In 2026, we really just focused on 3 things. And it's the 3 things that I listen to at every one of our executive committee meetings. It seems to be membership growth, retention, and orientation, making sure that we support this part of the, again, lifeblood, right? So the other thing is strengthening community partnerships. So raise your hand if you are a member of another organization that's not the NAACP. Raise your hand. Look at all those hands. So those hands means that we need to be a part of us, right? As you see, I'm an alpha and I'm an NAACP member, right? And I'm part of the Louisville Urban League. That's the beauty of being a part of so many organizations. If you're aligned to what we do, you should be a part of us as well. It is not an either or, it's as well. All right, the other part is advancing voting rights and civic engagement. So again, we connect to that team, right? Everyone, that has to be everyone's focus. We've got to be taking a look at the information that we're getting from our leader and taking that and getting it beyond these 4 walls, okay? The next month we kind of talked about some key accomplishments was we worked with membership and helped them with a package. So we have solid orientations on how we're going to bring in new members. So welcome to the organization. We're going to be adding you into that member orientation. We're going to get you engaged. We're going to find you a committee that you're passionate about, and you're going to be a part of those committees. And again, the thing about being an executive committee member, that's a great job. But I'm telling you, to be a chair is awesome. And this is what makes it awesome, is when you're around some really smart people that you go, I didn't even think about that. And then they get in the room with you and they go, well, I didn't think about that. And the synergy to get things going, that is what a committee is supposed to be all about. You've got to get the ideas and you got to put them in action. So it was one of those things, we talked about some things in a meeting and then they're like, boom, we were going to make that happen. And then about boom, we're about to get something on the website, right? So that's what a committee is supposed to be about. So again, the last part is, he had talked about, well, we do the Freedom Fund banquet and we do scholarships and those are pretty much the old fund. We got some ideas. We're looking at, like, isn't this a really cool t-shirt? Would you buy a t-shirt if we made some t-shirts that says NAACP Louisville Branch? Wouldn't you want some like swag? That could be some donation. I'm just throwing it out there. Hypothetically, it might have been in a meeting note to say, hey, we should probably look at other ones like Give for Good. Wouldn't that be it? Would you give for good? Maybe for your birthday. Like, I just had a birthday yesterday. If you want to say happy birthday, we're fine. But I'm just saying, so if you want to have birthdays, you can say on Facebook, hey, could you give to my organization? I collected just at a random $45 to give it to a random donation to a particular nonprofit that I was aligned to at that time. And it was an alpha organization. So guess what? I'm with the NAACP, so guess which one I wanted to put on there but wasn't able to. So that is something that I wanted to start driving towards. So just overall, across all three meetings, the committee demonstrated unity, collaboration, and commitment to strengthening the branch visibility, partnership, member experience. The CCC, this is what we like to call ourselves, continues to focus on building strong systems because we want to leave this organization better than we found it. All right? Deepen community partnership and support the branch's mission with clarity, compassion, and purpose. So that is what we do. That is what we're hoping we can kind of implement in all of the committees that we just let us know if you need some support. That's what we're here for. Okay? Yes. Any questions?
Not a question, but a comment. We're doing member orientation, and we have a little handbook that we're gonna pass out on campus. So we're done to the membership committee and with your committee, we're going to do that.
Absolutely.
People join and don't, we say they're members, and that's all they do. Their names on a piece of paper, that's it.
Yes. So we are going to put together, let me make sure you clearly
It's put
understand.
together. It's just, I gave it to her, don't copy it.
We're working on getting it together, and it's going to be a really awesome presentation soon. But the brain children of this was over here. I'm just a guy behind the scenes supporting this outstanding team. So thank you, everybody. Any questions for me?
Questions for Raleigh?
All right.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. Okay, on the agenda next, old business. Any old business anybody has? Just want to remind you of two things. One, the National Convention is July the 18th through the 22nd in Chicago. And Adolph Tompkins is working on seeing whether we can get a bus load of folks from Louisville, or really from Kentucky, going to the National Convention. We don't know when it'll be in this region again. Again, it's in Region 3, which is our region, and so we're going to be well represented. So if you're interested in going on the bus, Adolph Tompkins is the person you need to talk to about that. We'll be working on it. The state convention is in Central City. That's on September the 18th and 19th. So know about that, and we'll be having more information for that as we get closer to that date. And then I would be remiss under old business if I didn't bring up the most important thing we did. Finally, I got a note from UFI, which is the financial institution or financial operation within the NAACP. And the question was, do you all do anything other than scholarships in Louisville? And I'm going to tell you what the answer that I'm preparing is going to go back to him.
Everybody need to know the answer.
Well, the answer is we do what's important.
Okay.
So they question why we wasn't spending money on empowerment and other activities. Don't y'all do something besides scholarship? And as far as I'm concerned, if we are training and helping develop young minds to go out and serve this community and do it, we're doing what we need to do. And I think they're jealous because we give away more money in scholarship than the national organization does. So. Any new business?
I have a question,
Yeah.
Zach. Do you know with the national convention, if they're gonna try to get tickets to the Obama Library, it's supposed to open in June?
I have no idea. Have no idea yet. The Obama Library is sending out notices and all that, but they also said in those notices that you have to register to go there. And they were talking about it's going to open up at some date. So I'm expecting that maybe, conceivably, there may be a reception or something at the Obama Library, but I don't know. We'll know when they release. I think registration for the convention opens next month, open the end of this month, so we'll know. Okay, on announcements for you. On March the 18th, LCCC Distinguished Leadership Awards program is being held. That's at 11 a.m., so that's on Wednesday. Our Economic Development Chair is the head of that organization, so if you can attend and support him in terms of where that is. On March the 21st, which is this coming Saturday, Brotherhood Prayer Breakfast, First Virginia Avenue Baptist Church. We will be doing memberships, so if you want to come and work the membership table, you're welcome to come and be with us on that. And then on April the 14th, we, along with several other organizations in the community, are sponsoring a mayoral candidate forum at Central High School beginning at 6 p.m. I think all 12 or 13 candidates for mayor have been invited to attend. We'll see how many show up, but you need to turn out for that to be supportive of that. And then Vera's gone. On September the 19th, the CBTU Kentucky Annual Awards Dinner at UAW Hall at 5 o'clock. So be aware of that. And the only other announcement I have on my agenda is for if you're planning on seeking an officer position or becoming a member of the executive committee in the November 2026 election, you have to be a member in good standing by April 1. So if you're not having paid your dues for this year, you need to pay those dues so that you're eligible to run for that. So check your membership. Are there any other announcements? Yes.
I'm not sure how many of you know Melita Wallace.
Yeah.
She started out as a bank teller at PNC Bank, rose to, I think, VP of the bank, and now she's with Community Ventures, Strong Women, Strong Coffee. She's going to be awarded as a Daughter of Greatness at the Muhammad Ali Center on March 27th, 8:30. So tickets are probably still available, but they're probably going to go fast. And it's a breakfast, so it's in the morning.
Dates and events that needs to be added to our community calendar, that's what I'm going to call it, our community calendar. Could you please make sure we get it through our secretary and she can get those to me so that I know it's approved?
Assistant.
Yeah, so, because we want to make sure we get all this great information. Sometimes we don't hear it or write it down, so we're going to try to get that on the website moving forward, so you should be able to see that on the calendar and things of that nature. So if you guys
really needed today. On the desk area is our scholarship brochure.
I appreciate it.
Is our scholarship brochure. And if you don't know, you're living in an environment where there are some folks who think that the education of folks like us is illegal, shouldn't occur, or whatever, then I don't know what rock you've been hiding under. But each year the NAACP has given, I guess last year was $123,000 in scholarship. And so in order to do that type of scholarship work, it takes contributions from all of us and everybody. You know, we have some corporate sponsors, McDonald's. I'm assuming Brown-Forman is going to come back again this year. We'll see. But we need to raise some money to be able to do scholarship programs. If you don't know, at the University of Louisville, the Porter Scholarship Program has been redefined. At the University of Kentucky, Parker scholarships have been redefined. And so what we need to do is step up in a big way. Every dollar that you give us goes to a needing and deserving student. And if you could look at what students that we have supported have accomplished in this community and across this country, you would be absolutely amazed. So we want to keep that up, keep it going. We want to make national even matter than they have been in the past, because once again, we're going to give out more scholarships than they do and going to accomplish this for students. So don't forget about scholarship support. Any other announcements?
The scholarship chair.
Arnita Gadsden is not only the chair of the Environmental Committee for NAACP, but she's also the executive director of the West Jefferson County Community Task Force. We have monthly virtual meetings about environmental issues of importance to all of us. This Tuesday's meeting is at 5:30, and we're going to be hearing about the new EPA changes, because there have been changes to the regulations which may impact how our toxins get monitored. And then we're also going to, and that's by Rachel Hamilton of Air Pollution Control District, and then the utility shutoff protection policy, which is a policy we're trying to get through the state, where utilities can be shut off during high temperatures or really low temperatures. And LG&E says we don't do that. No, they cut it off the day before the high temperatures or low temperatures. So we're trying to get something in the legislation through the state. So please come and visit us on our virtual meeting. And if you go to the task force Facebook page, you can find out the time and links and all the information on how to access the meeting Tuesday night at 5:30 p.m.
Yes.